when you see any presentation or any webinar, normally it starts with a motivational video or a motivational quote. Here, I decided to kind of start with saying what's the bad news. And I know, everywhere we are reading a lot of bad news. The economy is not doing well, and there is a jobs crisis and other things. So one thing which is clearly happening is the world has changed. So you read about all these technological things happening around artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, 3D printing, Internet of Things. So these things are now no longer just things that you read about. They have actually become a reality, and they are actually changing things. I'm sure you all are seeing that. Artificial intelligence is leading to a lot of manual jobs getting automated. Because of 3D printing, a lot of manufacturing is closing down because you don't need a manufacturing plant now. You can 3D print an item. So technology is disrupting all the industries. So these are some statistics that I pulled out, and you would have seen this even during the WhatsApp marketing which was happening. 800 million jobs will be wiped out due to automation. That's one statistic. The other thing is 65% of children in primary school will end up in jobs that don't exist. Again, this is something which is happening already today. So if you see today in the IT industry, cybersecurity is the most sought after career. Probably 10 years earlier, nobody thought of cybersecurity as such an important career, or a job of a social media manager. Who would have thought 10 years ago you would need a person, to actually run social media for a company? But that's what has happened. So, and that will continue to happen. So, what you are studying today, that may not be relevant in the future. And again, the second part, and which is the sad but the harsh truth, the current education system does not prepare you for this new world. So unfortunately, our education system, even globally, but even more so in India, uh, the education system has not reformed at the same pace as the way the market has changed. So there is some statistics which are very surprising, but very true. When I interact with youth and interview them, this is what I see. Only this is a statistic from Ascent India. Out of all the graduates in India, only 47% are actually employable. They are worthy of getting a job. If you are an engineering student, I am sorry to say the situation is even worse. As per an Economic Times report just 3 months ago, 74% of engineering school graduates are unemployable, which means there are so many of our youth who are spending time. They are spending a lot of money in terms of fees on going to these schools, but unfortunately, those what they are learning there is not really what is required in the real world. So that is a lot of bad news, right? Now, but it's not all that bad. So let me take you to the next slide. So there's good news also. I mean, it's not all, it's not such a bleak scenario all the time. So the good news is that, we may not know what is going to happen in the future in terms of what jobs will exist after 10 years. But we do know for sure that the skills required to survive in the new world, we know what they are. So it's like when you are driving on the highway, for example, and it's a dark highway and you don't know where the destination is, but there are signposts, where on the highway you see that destination to Pune, 100 kilometers to go, 70 kilometers to go. Those are signposts. So these skills are also like signposts. They will tell us what you need to do to survive and to prosper in this new world. And the other good news is that the world is placing more and more importance on skills. So your academic credentials are important and will always remain important. But it's not only about academic credentials anymore. If you have the right skills, the right attitude, you can still succeed in life today. It's no longer, like 10 years ago, to succeed, you had to be maybe an IIT, an IIM, or you had to be from the top-notch colleges. That is no longer true today. And I have two examples to share with you on that. Uh, there's this photo popped up. I hope you all know who is Mr. Satya Nadella. He's the CEO of Microsoft. Microsoft, world's largest technology company, you would expect the CEO to be somebody from really, one of the top-notch colleges, and he's an Indian, so you would expect him to be IIT and IIM or maybe Stanford School of Business. You know what? He's an engineering graduate from Manipal Institute, which is not that great a college. Then he did his MBA also. It was a part-time MBA he did from Columbia Business School. So it's not only about his academic credentials. There were some other qualities and skills that he possessed, which helped him to rise at the very top in Microsoft. So that's one example. The other example I want to share with you is a very inspiring one. You should go and Google this online also. A boy from Mira Road called Abdullah Khan. Uh, he was from a not a very well-known engineering college, and in fact, it was not, his college was nowhere in the top 200. There was no recruitment happening in that college, but he happened to participate in a coding competition, and that code was placed online. And somebody from Google saw that code and invited him for an interview. And guess what? You can see in that newspaper clipping, he landed a job of 1.2 crores. That's right, 1.2 crores job at Google. And he's from a very, I would say, not a great engineering college. It's just that he could showcase his skills in coding, which is what was required at Google. So these are two stories. So the point I'm, and there are many other stories, I mean, I can go on and on, but uh, the point I'm trying to make is that it's not only about your academic credentials anymore. Even if you possess the right skills today, you can really go forward and survive and prosper in this new world. And that's what we're going to talk about today, what those skills are. So what are the skills you need to thrive in this new world? While preparing for this webinar, I read a lot of reports and white papers and other things. There are a lot of skills that everybody talks about. Different reports have different things, but there are four skills which came out very commonly in each of those reports. So I'm going to talk about those four skills today. The first is going to be learning agility. There is this quotation I've put up. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So this is a quote which is so relevant today, and we also know. I mean, Imam has also been talking about continuous learning from a long, long time. But in today's age, it has never been more important. To your ability to keep learning, and not only learning but also unlearning. So whether it is uh, in your college or even in your job, if you're doing, or even in your business every day, uh, change is happening so fast. You have to also unlearn a lot of the things that you have been doing in the past, and be willing to be open minded and look at new things. So this was an interesting statistic I came across. 90% of the data in the world was created in the last 2 years. So we all know, there is so much of information and data around us, Twitter and LinkedIn and social media and on the web and everywhere. The amount of data which is created every year today is perhaps equal to what was created in the last entire history of mankind. So here, this statistic is 90% of the data in the world today, whatever data and knowledge exists today, was created in the last 2 years. What it also means that whatever you know today will be obsolete in the next 5 years. So if you are studying a certain subject in your college, or in your job you are specializing on a certain skill, you know what, that skill will not be relevant after the next 5 years. That is the reality of our life. So the point is, continuous learning is now a basic survival skill. In our childhood, when we were young, we were told there were 3 R's which were required to survive: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those were considered basic skills to survive. Now, I would say this is a basic survival skill: continuous learning. So this is not new, right? I mean, we all know, we have been reading Imam's Farmans, and we all know that continuous learning has been important. But have you ever thought how to actually learn? So how to learn is also a skill. So I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. So how do you build your learning agility? I'm going to share 3 or 4 steps with you to actually how you can start becoming a good learner. The first is, you know what, you need to know your learning style. So this is something in school or college, while we study a lot, but nobody teaches us how to learn. But learning itself is a skill. You know, learning how to learn is a skill that we all need to possess. And the first thing for that is to know your learning style. So some of us are, for example, visual people. You know, we learn by seeing things, by reading, or we want to have those images in front of us. Those are called visual people. There are some who are called auditory people, which means you know, they learn by listening or by attending lectures. The third type of skill is kinesthetic, where you learn by actually doing things. So there are a lot of tests online where you can go and you can find out what's your learning skill, and based on what your learning style is, if you're visual or if you're auditory or if you're kinesthetic, you should tune your content to actually suit your learning skill. So for example, if I take my own case, I'm a very high kinesthetic learner. So I learn only by doing things. So when I'm trying to learn something, I try to attend classes, or I try to do demos, or I try to do something hands-on, because I learn maximum in that. I cannot learn by just reading or by listening to somebody. So that's your learning style. So that's the first thing. You know, if you know your learning style and you tune yourself according to that, there will be a great increase in the way you can learn. That's the first thing. Second thing is, have your own learning strategy. So again, learning, you need to have a strategy for yourself. And what I mean is, it could be something simple, like you know, what I do is I stay in Mumbai, and you know, we all know in Mumbai you spend at least, especially these days, you spend a lot of time commuting. You're always stuck in traffic. So what I do is, whenever I'm stuck in traffic, instead of cursing the roads, I just take out my mobile and I start listening to TED talks, or I start listening to online courses. So even if that I do that for just 15 minutes a day, it's a big difference that happens over a period of time. So you need to have your own learning strategy. You know, if you can, for example, have 1 hour in the morning, if you're a morning person and you like to study early in the morning, block 1 hour in the morning for that, or if you're in the night, but have your own learning strategy. Don't leave your learning, and what I mean, your learning is not your normal school studies. For things beyond that, it could be just reading the newspaper or listening to a TED talk, but block out a time for that. Maybe you are waiting at the bus stop, so have a learning strategy for that. That's the second step. Third is, be intellectually humble. Now, this is something very important. What it means is, so came across this quote which I found very nice from the first US President Abraham Lincoln. Every man I meet is superior to me. In that, I can learn from him. So what happens is, especially people who are, you know, who are specialists in their field or who are highly educated, there is a lot of intellectual arrogance in them. You know, that feeling that I know everything now. मैं और क्या सीख सकता हूँ? तू क्या सिखाएगा मुझे, you know, that is the kind of attitude. But in today's world, it's important, you know, even if you are there's a construction site worker or maybe a peon in your office, there is something to learn even from them. So have that intellectual humility. You know, sometimes the best ideas come from the least expected people. So have that humility to learn and be open minded to everything. And the fourth is, stay curious. Uh, Keep asking questions. You know, it is said, if you ask a question, you are a fool for 5 minutes. If you don't ask the question, you are a fool forever. So stay curious. Keep asking questions. Keep questioning why things are the way they are, and you will learn a lot just by doing these little things. You know, knowing your learning style and constantly asking questions, and that's the first skill I spoke about, building your learning agility. The second skill I'm going to talk about is analytical thinking. Now, what is analytical thinking? It's basically you apply logical thinking to break a problem into smaller parts. So in real life, you know, when you in your school today or in your college, uh, the education system is such that it teaches you in terms of subjects. You learn physics, you learn economics, you learn trigonometry. In the real world, you have to solve a problem, and in the real world, a problem is a problem. It's not a maths problem. It's not a HR problem. It's a problem in the real world where you have to take the interplay of many things. So your ability to break down a problem into a complex problem into parts is something which is a very valued skill today. It's basically, if I were to say it in 2 words, it's about simplifying complexity. And to give an example of that, what I did is I actually went online and I picked up this Google interview question. So when Google interviews people, they test the analytical skills to a great extent. So there is this interview question called how many piano tuners are there in the city of New York? So piano tuners, so basically in the New York, there are people who have pianos, and because they are such complex musical instruments, you need to have people who tune them. So this is a question which sounds like a very, I would say, ridiculous question, right? I mean, what kind of a question is this? But here, when Google is asking this question, what they're trying to do is understand how you approach a problem. So here's what is an approach to the problem. So how can we break down this using analytical thinking? So first thing is you look at the big picture. So what do you do? First thing is, if you want to know how many piano tuners are, you start by looking at the big picture. How many people are actually there in New York City? So there are 85 lakh people. Then you break that down into layers. How many households are there? So if you assume 3 people per household, so you divide 85 lakh by 3, so you have 28 lakh households. So you can have a pure piano only in a household. You can't. So that means your audience is now 28 lakh because there are 28 lakh households in New York. How many people would own a piano? So 1 out of every 5. That is the statistic that you can assume based on what you know around you. So that comes down to 5 lakh 66,000. How many pianos need to be tuned every year? You assume 5%, so it's 28,000. Then you break that down into, so now you have broken it down further. You have come down from 85 lakh people to 28,000 pianos. So you have broken down the problem. Now you're again breaking it down into even a smaller part. Now you're coming to the actual piano tuner who works for 250 days in a year. And if he works 8 hours in a day, it's 2,000 hours. Then the time taken to tune a piano is 3 hours a day. So if you assume his travel time and everything, it's 8 hours. So he can tune 2 pianos in a day, which means 500 piano tuners in a year. So what you do is you divide 28,000 pianos by 500 piano tuner in a year, and that's how you arrive at 56. So here the point I'm trying to make, and what Google is also looking at, they're not looking at the right answer. In fact, this is not the right answer, by the way. What they're looking at is the process that you followed to actually arrive at the answer. So you could have easily Googled and come up with the right answer, but they are not interested in that. They are interested in seeing how you broke down the problem and how you arrived at the solution. So that is what analytical thinking is about. It's about the ability to break down a problem into smaller parts and be able to analyze each part and arrive at a solution. And just for your knowledge, the correct answer was 62. So the person who actually solved this was not very far off from the correct answer. But this was an example of what analytical thinking is. It's about how you break down a problem into the smaller parts. So that's the second skill we are talking about, analytical thinking. Third one is critical thinking. Now, what is critical thinking? The ability to think clearly and rationally about what to do in a certain situation. So what is happening today is because of artificial intelligence and robotics and all of that, there are two things which happen. So the one is the amount of data that you have at your disposal is huge, because all of these things generate a lot of information which is available for you. Second thing is, because of all of this automation, uh, the person, as a person, you are not expected to do a manual job. We will have robots for that. So your job will be to actually take that data and to be able to make sense out of it. So that is what critical thinking is about. So it's the ability to take multiple amounts of data and to engage in reflective and independent thinking. So your ability to actually assimilate different amounts of data, think through it clearly, and to be able to arrive at a rational solution, that is what critical thinking is about. It's again about simplifying complexity. So that's the third skill which is very much in demand today. The fourth and last skill is emotional intelligence. Now, what is emotional intelligence? So you can see on the slide there are 5 little circles I've put in. If you just take the actual definition of emotional intelligence, It's the ability, the capacity to be able to express your own emotions and be able to have your interpersonal relations emphatically. Now, there are 5 elements of emotional intelligence. The first is self awareness. It starts with that. It starts with understanding yourself as a person. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your triggers? What motivates you? That's the first element of self awareness. The second is self regulation, knowing to control yourself. So we see in you have read in the papers also, people who are super rich, super successful, but they have done some extremely stupid things, like somebody has taken a bribe and ended their entire career. Probably a career of 20 years has been ended in some few minutes of some rash decision. So that is the problem with them. They may be intellectually very smart, but they don't know how to regulate themselves. They don't know how to control themselves. So that's a very important skill to have. Third is learning to motivate yourself. So again, in the world we are in, it's a difficult world. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of stress, and many times you will face a lot of challenges. You need to have that ability to know what motivates you, what are your triggers, what is your purpose, and that is what gives you the strength to keep persisting with whatever you want to achieve. Fourth is recognizing emotions in others. So you may be very great having self awareness. So I read this interesting statistic when I was preparing for this. All the con men, the cheaters, the biggest cheaters in history, like in India there was Charles Sobraj, and all the con men in history were had a very high amount of emotional intelligence. They had superb self awareness. They knew how to control their emotions, but they were lacking in empathy. They did not recognize emotions in others, and that is what made them probably serial killers or made them such successful conmen. So having empathy and the ability to relate to others and to able to understand what is going on in the minds of others is a very very important skill, because if you don't do that, uh, in this world today you work in a lot of teams, cross cultural teams, teams across regions, across countries, and if you don't you're not able to relate to people, it's a challenge. So that's empathy. And the fifth is knowing what are your values. That is probably the most important. So any decision you take any decision you take has to be in the light of what your values are. So even simple things like, I have a lot of students who come to me and say, sir, I'm not sure, should I go abroad for studies or should I stay in India? My first question is, you need to ask yourself, what are your values, what is important to you? Is the social structure important? Is that structure of staying in India important to you, or is it the fact that you want a better quality of life? So those values, when you keep those values in front of you, every decision you take becomes a decision that you can stand by in the long term. So those are the 5 elements of emotional intelligence. So these are the 4 important skills that are needed in today's world. I've been talking for the last, I think, 25 minutes on what the skills are, right? And I think more or less we all know this. We have all read enough of this in the papers. And I guess you want to know, tell me straight, how do I build these skills, right? So I'm going to give you a very simple framework for building these skills. Now, again, see, this is something which you will turn around and say, I'm busy with my studies, I'm busy with my job. Now you're telling me, apart from learning what I'm supposed to learn and also doing justice to my job, you're telling me to also build these skills. Yes, I am telling you, but I'm giving you a very simple framework for building these skills. So small consistent steps taken every day add up over time. So there is this little slide I want to show you. Simple mathematics. 1 raised to 365 is 1. 1.01 raised to 365. If you just make 1.00 into 1.01, you can see that 1 becomes 37.7. So the point I'm trying to make is, small things that you do every day in your life, small things, if you do it consistently, it can add to a tremendous amount of change over the long period. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to give you a framework. I'm going to give you 5 things that you need to do, and I guarantee you, I guarantee you, if you do these 5 things consistently, your life will be very different and you will be closer to your goals. So, what are those 5 steps I'm going to talk about? The first step, what are the 5 things you can start doing from today? First thing is find yourself a mentor. What is a mentor? Somebody who sees more talent within you than you see in yourselves and helps bring about that talent in you. So, this is the first thing, in life. It is said, a clever man learns from his own experience, but a really smart man learns from the experience of others. So when you have a mentor, the entire experience that person has gathered over his 10, 15, 20 years, whatever experience, he's giving you the essence of that experience. So it's a tremendous boost to have a mentor. Now, how do you find a mentor? So there is no shortage of knowledge out there. There's only a shortage of asking for help. You will be amazed. In fact, even in our Jamaat itself, uh, the beauty of our community is you will be amazed at how many people are out there ready to help you, who want to share their knowledge with you. The only condition is they don't know that you want help. So you have to go out and ask for help. And trust me, you will be amazed at how many people out there are there who have already achieved what you want to achieve, who can help you achieve what you want to achieve. The only condition is ask. Go out and ask. uh, Ask people for advice, ask people for help, tell people, can you be my mentor? And you'll be surprised at how many people out there are ready to help you. So who can be your mentor? It could be your professors, seniors in college, seniors at work, even in Jamaat Khana. If you see a professional who is who you admire and who is in the same profession as you, just go out there and ask them for help. Now there are little tips to engage a mentor. What are those tips? The first is follow up. So it is said follow up is the breakfast of champions. So I come across this many times, even in Jamaat Khana or in my office. People come to me and ask for help. They say, sir, can you help me to find a job? I say, great, fine, send me your CV. And guess what? They have disappeared after that for the next 10 days. Now, if you want somebody to mentor you, obviously he's there to help you, but he's not going to follow up with you. So this is something so basic and so fundamental, but you will be amazed at how less people do this. So you have to have a consistent follow up with a person to engage a mentor. Second is respect people's time. So a mentor is again somebody who is possibly senior to you, so he's busy. So you have to respect people's time and seek out their permission before taking their permission to help you. Third is be specific when you approach someone for help. So a mentor is there to help you, but you need to be very clear about what you want from him. It's like saying, you go to a hotel and you sit there and the entire menu is in front of you, but until you don't place an order saying this is what I want to eat for lunch, how will that be served to you? So when you approach someone for help, be very specific what do you want. So again, I come across students who approach me and say, please help me to find a job. I mean, fine, that's great, but can you be more specific? I mean, what do you want to do? What are your aspirations? I mean, it can't be that I'm going around with job interviews in my pocket. So that's the point I want to make. When you're approaching someone for help, be specific. So that's the first point. Find a mentor. So the first thing you should do today, if you want to start being successful, is go out, look around you within your Jamaat Khana, within your college, within your office, and find a mentor, find somebody who will help you and take their advice. Second thing is internships. So this is very relevant for those of you who are students. So, at the start, the first slide I said that there is a gap between the education system and the real world. What you learn in your colleges is no longer relevant. Internships are a great way to bridge that gap, because while you are still studying, you can get a real feel of the real world. So what are the tools for internships? How do you get internships? The first thing is volunteer in our institutions. So we are all privileged, this beautiful community we are part of. If you just go out and volunteer in our institutions, the amount of knowledge you will gain, the amount of exposure is phenomenal. And let me tell you that this knowledge is also valued. So I always quote this example. When I uh, went to Microsoft, when I was being interviewed, one of the things that went in my favor was the voluntary work I had done in the education board and in IPN. So all the skills that I spoke about, and some of you would have perhaps volunteered in the Pradhamni which happened recently. I mean, that was a brilliant example of all the skills you can build, time management, stress management, managing people, critical thinking, thinking out of the box. All of that you had to do, whether you are in food and beverages or you are in transport or whatever, all those skills came into play, So one thing you should do is go forward and volunteer in our institutions. Second is write to startups. So people always ask me, sir, when we start our career, should we work in a good company, a very big brand, or should we work in a startup? So my advice is you should work in a good brand, but you should definitely do an internship with a startup, because startups will give you skills of thinking across functions, of thinking out of the box. And how do you and startups will never come to a college, or they will never put an ad in the newspaper saying we want internships. Simple thing you can do is there are so many startup hubs all over India, Springboard 91 zone startups. These are all places where many startups come together, and it's like a innovation hub where the startups have their own offices within a larger premises. So there are so many. I've put up the names. You can just go online and write to them for internships, and you'll be amazed, because these startups, nobody really reaches out to them. So if you take that step of reaching out and asking for an internship, you'll be amazed at how much opportunity is there. And then there are online sites. I'm putting up the names: internchala.net, Let's Intern, 2019, Youth for Work, Hello Intern. There are so many resources online where you can just go and apply for an internship, and you will be surprised at how much opportunity is there. So that's the second thing to do. Internships is a thing you should do to boost your career. Third is leverage the power of social media. So, I'm sure you get a lot of advice, especially the ones of you who are younger. Don't waste time on social media. Don't waste time on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. So what my advice is, don't waste time, but use social media very selectively. And LinkedIn is one powerful tool. If you don't have a profile on LinkedIn today, it's like you don't exist. So uh, the best way, if you want people to look at me without saying look at me, if you want to make your presence felt in today's world, active participation on LinkedIn is the best way to actually do that. Now a lot of people tell me, sir, मैंने profile तो बना लिया LinkedIn पे, but उसके बाद क्या करूँ? I mean, I've made my profile. I've not updated from 1 year. There are amazing amount of things you can do on LinkedIn. There are 5 things I'm just putting up. First is look for jobs or internships. I mean, all the jobs nowadays are advertised first on LinkedIn and then elsewhere. Second is use it as a research tool. If you're looking for information on any topic, you will get amazing amount of resources there. Third is expand your network and connections. So you'll be amazed at how many people are out there on LinkedIn. That is both within your community, plus there are people called influencers. All the people in the world you admire, whether it's Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or Jack Ma or Larry Ellison. All of them are on LinkedIn, and they are posting their comments, their views, all of that. All you have to do is follow them on LinkedIn, and it's like you are directly in touch with them. You're coming to know on a daily basis what their thoughts are. Fourth is use it to build your credibility and your personal brand. So LinkedIn is like an extension of you. So if you want to create your brand as a specialist in, say, coding, you can put up some article about coding you have done, or you can write a blog post. And there are millions of people out there who are seeing that post. So you are indirectly creating your own brand. You're creating your specialization, that this person has put on 3 blog posts on Java coding language, so he's an expert on Java. So that's how you build your credibility and personal brand. And what happens when you do that? Then you get found out by recruiters and employers. So the moment you have your own brand and the world knows you as a specialist, then you don't need to approach them, they will approach you. So that's the third thing you need to do. Uh, if you don't have, I would suggest the first thing you should do after this webinar is go and create your LinkedIn profile. If you have it, update it and start being more active on LinkedIn. Start putting blog posts, start following people, start connecting with people whom you know. So that's the third thing to do, leverage the power of social media. Fourth is online education. So this is a big blessing that this generation has, which was not there in our time. When I was studying, I remember I used to do part-time MBA. I had to travel 2 hours every day, just to attend lectures. Now, thanks to mobile connectivity and all these wonderful courses, Coursera, EDX, Udacity, you have all the courses available online. So go and take the benefit of these courses. There's a beautiful amount of content there. Every possible topic in the world you can think of, right from uh, complex algebra to knowing how to play a guitar. Every possible topic is out there on the internet with quality content. So what are the benefits? Flexibility. You don't need to be bound to any one place. Even if you're stuck in traffic, you can just pull out your mobile and complete that course. Reduce costs. So while many of these courses are free, a few of them are paid also, but the cost is just a fraction of the cost that you would have to pay if you actually went to those institutions. Third is the student time. So when you were in college, probably you just got that 1 hour. Now here you have the benefit of being able to rewind the content and view it as many times as you want. And it is all global content, like Coursera has content from Stanford, from Harvard, all available literally within your pocket in your mobile. The other thing you should do is read book summaries and podcasts. So reading is one thing which is very, very important. So if you want to take back just one thing from this webinar, and just one thing that you will go back and implement, if you just resolve to spend 15 minutes reading something every day, that itself is something that will make a big benefit in your life. And we all don't have the time. We are all busy. We don't have time to read. So read book summaries or read podcasts. So these are some applications, some apps which I use. There's an app called Booklet, which has a booklet which is called a book summary. So every week there is a person who uh, summarizes a book and puts it up, and you can either read the summary or you can listen to the summary online. So there's another one called Blinkist, which is a book summary app. There is a app called IVM Podcast, which has podcasts on every topic you can think of, and it's free. So whether it's education or healthcare or mental health, you will get podcasts on all of that. TED Talks is another brilliant resource. So do this, spend 10-15 minutes every day, at least listen to one video. What I do personally, every morning I go for a morning walk for 30 minutes. And when I go for a walk, I plug in my mobile and I listen to two book summaries. So by the time I have started my day at 7:30 in the morning, I have already read two book summaries because each summary is 15 minutes. So just that one thing, if you start doing, it will make a tremendous difference to your life. So that's the fourth thing to do, is to leverage the power of online courses. And while I'm on the topic of reading, these are some books that I've collated. And whatever be your area of expertise, whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, these are books that everybody should have read. If you have not read, I would say please take a photo of this and start reading these books. These are timeless books, they are classics, and the amount of knowledge you will get from them will be with you throughout your life. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, what they don't teach you at Harvard Business School, uh, what color is your parachute is about career planning, how to win friends is about managing people. So go through these books, read them. It will make a tremendous benefit to your life. The other thing is, there are some skills again that all of us need to have, irrespective of whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. Excel skills, please go and do a course on Excel. If you have basic proficiency, try to go a little step ahead. Business writing and email writing skills. I mean, I'm 20 years in working in corporate, working with senior people. You will be amazed at how bad people's email writing skills are. It's such a fundamental skill, but people lack this skill. Presentation skills, then the ability to do digital marketing, speed reading, mind map. So if you're wanting to make notes, if you start using mind maps to make notes, it will be tremendous in terms of the amount of knowledge you can retain. Negotiation skills is something very important that we all need to know. Personal finance management, I mean, this is something that the generation today is very bad in. So you need to have some knowledge of, some understanding of what are credit cards, what is interest rate, what is how to save, what is mutual fund equities. It's a basic skill that everybody needs to have. Reading and analyzing annual reports, critical thinking skills, time management. So and there are brilliant courses available online for all of these topics. So my suggestion is, pick up any one of these, go to Coursera or go to Udacity or Udemy, just type courses on email writing skills, and enroll for that course and start doing it, and it will have a tremendous impact on your life. The fifth and the last part is grow your network. So you can see this graph I put. The eagles don't hang out with chickens. So your network, what is networking? So, networking has this, people have this impression that networking is something that rich people do over playing golf. They strike multi-million deals. Networking is not that. Networking is very simple. It's about you helping others and others helping you. As long as you keep doing that, your network will keep growing. And there was this interesting statistic I came, and this is a study which is actually proved. Uh, what is your income? You just sit back and think, who are the five people you spend the most time with, who are the five people you hang out with, take the average of their income, and that is your income. So if you want to increase your income, simple tip, just start spending time with people whose income is more than you. And that applies to everything. If you want to increase your knowledge, spend time with people who have more knowledge than you. If you want to increase your communication skills, spend time with people who have better communication skills than you. So that's the important thing. Hang out with people who are better than you. Surround yourself with people who are better than you. And what can you do to build your network? Simple things: volunteer in your college, in your office. There are always, for example, college festivals, or there are functions in your office. And when you volunteer for them, you get a chance to meet out people who you don't meet in your normal life, in everyday life. And that's how you grow your network and you learn more. You can join a group. So when I was doing engineering, we used to have this called IEEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. I don't know if it still exists, but that was a group where all engineers from different colleges would meet, and it benefited me tremendously in terms of the friends I made. There are groups like Toastmasters, Rotaract Club, Lions Club, so many of them around us. Join these groups. You will expose yourself to people from different backgrounds, from different education levels, and that's how you will learn, and that's how you will grow. Join your local IPN chapter. So IPN is Ismaili Professionals Network. So if you are in one of the cities where there's an IPN chapter, this is a platform that is created by the Economic Planning Board. It is created for Ismaili professionals to come together and network. So go and they have a lot of events. They have special interest groups. So go and join your local IPN chapter. That's how you will uh, be able to expose yourself to more people. Attend industry events, forums. So if you are in the medical industry, for example, check out in the newspaper. There would be some forums where there are seniors from your industry coming. Attend those events. Go and introduce yourself to people. Those are the things that will help you to grow your network. So that's the end of my presentation. So just to recap the four critical skills: learning agility, analytical thinking, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. And how do you build those skills? Remember the five things I told you. And as I said, start doing those things from today, and you will see a tremendous improvement in your life. What are those five things to start doing from today? First is find a mentor. Second is volunteer in your Jamaat Khana, volunteer in your institutes, your local institutes, or at the regional board. Lot of learning to happen from there. Go and create your LinkedIn profile and start creating your brand on LinkedIn. Do an online course. If you have not done a course so far, please do it. It's the most valuable thing that you have today. The easiest, cheapest, and most effective way of upgrading yourself. Attend an event in your area. So find out, whatever is your area of expertise. Find out if there's an event happening in an area and go ahead and attend it. So those are the five things to start from doing today. And as Saif said at the start, I'm part of education board, and I lead this program called Reach for Stars Mentorship. And I just wanted to spend 5 minutes talking about this program. In fact, Saif himself has been a part of this program. So this is a mentorship program. It's a flagship program from the Education Board for India. It's in its fourth cycle. We have done 3 cycles. So this is meant for students who are doing graduation or who have completed graduation and are planning to do masters. And what we do here is there is a rigorous selection process in which we select 50 of the brightest students from the Jamaat. So there is an online admission process, then there is a panel interview, and basis that we handpick 50 of the brightest students from the Jamaat all across India, and we put them through a 9-month mentoring program. And what do you get into that? You get access to mentor. So all the things I spoke about, whether it is mentoring, internships, or building your soft skills, all of that is kind of put into this one package in RFS. And over 9 months, it's an intense program where you are given exposure to all of these things. So if you are planning to study further, you are given access to professionals who will help you to build a roadmap for that. There are immersion tracks, so you can actually go out and meet people from the industry. Those of you who are doing graduation, or those who are doing planning to pursue masters, I watch out in your Jamaat Khana for this announcement. It's going to be announced in October. So watch out for the announcements, and I would urge you all to go ahead and apply for this program. You can talk to many of the students from your centers, who have attended this program, and they have benefited tremendously from it. So watch out for the announcement. It's going to happen in October. Also, in some select Jamaat Khanas, there will be orientations that the team will be doing. So there will be a team who will actually come to your Jamaat Khana center and talk in detail about the program and how you should apply. So watch out for those orientations. If you want an orientation in your center, go to your local education board convener and tell them we would like an orientation. So that was the last slide I had. So that's it from my side. So it's 9:50 in the night. So uh, 1 hour to bedtime for all of us. So I just wanted to end with this little thing. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So in the night when you sleep together, remember this quotation, and remember the 5 things I told you to do, and inshallah that will fulfill all your dreams. So that's what I wanted to talk about in terms of the critical skill sets for the future. I am happy to take questions. If you have questions, please feel free to. Uh, I could see some questions coming, but I wanted to wait till the end. So I'm happy to take questions now. So please go ahead and shoot your questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. It was a really, really nice webinar, and we're already seeing on the chat box that we have an excellent, excellent response. So thank you so much. And personally, I would also want to say that being in the RFS program has helped me a lot because you know I got an opportunity to in fact go to Harvard. So that is not an opportunity that many students get. So I was basically helped and mentored to do that. Um, so yes, you can. So you can now take the questions from the chat box.
Right. So I'm just scrolling through the chat box. So there is a question from Micheline Meghani saying if there are any internships for students in chemical engineering second year. Honestly, Micheline, I'm not a subject matter expert on the chemical engineering industry, so I can't really answer that question. But I can tell you, and what I will do is I will share this PPT with the office, and inshallah they will share it with you. So I collated a lot of resources on how you can get internships and how you can apply for internships. So you can go through those resources, and inshallah that will help you to get an internship in your chosen field. Okay, so there is a question from Farida. Can you please help me to know which books you recommend? I was not able to have a look at those books when the slide was on. So Farida, I can just scroll back to that slide and leave it on for 30 seconds. So all of you who are interested, you can probably click a photo on your mobile, or you can note down those books. I'm just scrolling back to that. I hope you can see that. So there were books like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is a classic. What they don't teach you at Harvard Business School. This is about life skills. Then What Color is Your Parachute by Richard Wallace, which is about career planning. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is about how to build relations with people. The Magic of Thinking Big is about changing your mindset to address your problems. Think and Grow Rich is it's very obvious. It's about making more money. Thinking Fast and Slow is about critical thinking. So I could see another question as well about critical thinking. So if you want to know more about that, you should definitely read this book, Thinking Fast and Slow. And the last one, classic again, Rich Dad Poor Dad series, is about what the rich people do and why why is it that some people make so much money and others always struggling financially. So these are books, it's a must read. You should definitely read these books. And what I do is, as a probably as a passion or as a uh, motivation to increase the habit of reading, I read a book every week and post the book summary. I have a blog called sohelbogani.blogexpress.com. So if you're interested, you should go there and you should read out the book summaries. I read a book every week and I summarize that book and I put the learnings on my blog. So I hope that answers your question. So there's one question from Harsh Valyani. It says, can you tell me medium for mentor besides mentorship program? Uh, Harsh, what it seems like is I think you applied last year for the RFS program and you did not get through. Uh, no worries about that, Harsh. So it's a competitive program where only one out of every 5 or 6 who apply get selected. First step is you should definitely apply for Reach for Stars this year as well, and you should put in all the efforts to get in. Most of the students who apply don't get through on the first attempt. They typically get selected on the second or third attempt. So don't worry if you didn't get selected. That is the sure short way to get a mentor. Even if you don't get selected, keep in touch with your education board conveners and your local boards. There will be a lot of programs happening even for people who are not part of RFS who want access to industry professionals and other things. There is a lot of things we have in the pipeline. So keep in touch with that and also with your local IPN chapters. So I hope that answers your question, Harsh. So I'm getting a lot of specific questions on uh, uh, somebody is an expert in chemical engineering or somebody is doing bachelor's in computer application. So this is something that is not I'm number one, I'm not a career counselor, and number two, this is not the right forum for addressing individual career queries. So what I can do is I will share the PPT and I will request Saif or somebody from the team to uh, actually share an email ID. So whatever career queries you have, we have a helpline where you can go and put in those queries. We also have a newsletter, a monthly newsletter where you can go and subscribe. And there's a lot of career related information you can get on that. There's a question from Saloni Daredia. I'm a fresher and currently on a job hunt. Am I eligible to apply for RFS? Saloni, if you are planning to pursue masters in the next 2 or 3 years, you are definitely eligible to apply. So you should definitely apply. It will probably increase your skills and make it more easier for you to find a job as well. There's one question somebody has said, please type your blog ID. So I'm just typing it out right here. Sohelbogani.blog express. So so that's my blog ID, sohelbogani.blogexpress.com. You can go there and read a new book summary every week. So there's a question from Adil Keshwani. Being an experienced professional in management field, what are the most in-demand skills MNCs are asking for? So again, Adil, it depends on what area of management you are, whether you are in consulting or whether you are in the finance side or the marketing side. So it depends on that. But as I said, there are certain skills which are uniform across. Every multinational looks at things like your communication skills. They look at your ability to handle stress, and they will look at things like your ability to your integrity. That's extremely important. And multinationals are very process driven. because they are so large, they became large by having a lot of processes. So that's one very important quality you need to have if you want to work for an MNC. You need to be very process driven and very analytical in your thinking. So those are the 3 4 broad skills. Apart from that, it's of course your domain expertise, based on what area you are in. So again, there's a question from Savan Mukhida. I want to become animation designer. Savan, I am again not an animation specialist, so I can't help you on that. But Saif just put up a mail ID. You can send your queries on that. Uh, Very good question. How can we prepare our school-going kids for the future? Uh, this is from Zara ma'am. So good question. So I think it's to some extent it's the same skills that I spoke about today. It's just that the uh, type of skills will be different in the sense a school-going child cannot obviously cannot put him for internship. But ma'am, if there's one thing I would definitely recommend to you is if you can inculcate the reading habit in your child today, because they are young. So when they are in their fifth standard, sixth standard, or even earlier, if you make it a habit to read out aloud to them, and if you give them access to quality books and libraries and make them read, just that one thing if you do, trust me, it will really prepare your kids for the future. So and there are other things as well, like exposing them to different cultures and teaching them problem solving. So a lot of those things. But if I would say just one thing, if you want to do start from today, just spend 15 minutes of family bonding time with your child and read out to him or encourage him to read, and that will have a tremendous amount of benefit on for his future. So I hope that answers your question. So we have 5 minutes more, so please keep the questions coming. So there's a question from Simran. Can you please throw some light on emotional intelligence? So emotional intelligence, Simran, is it's basically how you are able to control and manage your own emotions. So it's about number one, being self-aware. So many times we don't know what our own strengths are, what our own weaknesses are. Until we don't know that, there's no way we can project that to the world. And the second important part about emotional intelligence is your empathy and your ability to connect to others. So that's what emotional intelligence is about. So in the world that we are going to be in, it's all going to be a lot of teamwork and a lot of cross-cultural teams. So again, I give the example of Padramni, because that is something we all have been there and we relate to it. So whether the darbar was in Bombay or in Hyderabad, the amount of planning which went into creating that darbar, and that was a classical example of teamwork and collaboration and stress management, and all that you can do only if you're very high on emotional intelligence. So that's what it's all about. It's about your ability to manage your own emotions and about relating to others. And there is a very book called the EQ by Daniel Goleman. So he is the one who actually propagated this concept of emotional quotient. So if you want to know more, read up this book, or you can look up a TED talk. It will give you a lot of inputs on EQ. There's a question from Ria Makani: when RFS is going to be conducted, and can you give brief idea about the selection of students? So RFS, Ria, the online application process is going to start in the month of October. Uh, then in the month of November, there will be an interview panel that will invite the selected candidates for an interview. And the cycle will start in January. So the 50 or 55 students who are selected will be then put through a 9-month mentoring. And on what basis are the RFS selections conducted? It is, number one is your academic credentials, because we are looking at students who have got good marks. But that is not the only credential. We also look at your soft skills and your clarity of thought. So how clear you are about what you want to do in your career and what those things. So in fact, probably in the month of October, there will be webinars we will do, inshallah, on the RFS selection process. So you should definitely attend those. It will give you more inputs. So there is one, what is speed reading and mind maps, and where can I learn these skills? So speed reading is, as the name suggests, is basically it's a technique, it's a skill that allows you to improve your reading speed without losing out on the content. So when about 10 years ago, I did a course in speed reading, and that is one thing which has benefited me, and that's how I managed to read one book every week and put a summary. So there are a lot of online courses available on speed reading. You should definitely do it. It basically helps you to, it gives you techniques whereby instead of reading one word at a time, you can read sentences at a time, and that helps you to read faster in the same amount of time. And mind mapping is another technique where normally when we make notes, we do it linearly, point one, point two, point three. But our mind doesn't think linearly. Mind thinks in different ways. It forms connections. So mind maps is something which allows you to form connections in the same way. So the way we think is the way you create the notes. So it becomes easier to capture and retain that information. I hope that answers your question. So maybe last couple of questions and then we'll wind up. Saif, I hope that's okay.
Yes, yes, perfectly fine, sir.
Yeah. So there's a question. Can you tell me which applications will help me to get a job or part-time jobs? So this is from RJ. So I can only tell you, instead of it's like that three idiots saying "Kabil bano, कामयाबी तुम्हारे पीछे भागेगी." So instead of uh, running behind the applications, focus on what skills are needed and try to build up those skills, and create your profile on LinkedIn and go online and apply. Uh, that way the jobs will come to you rather than you going after the jobs. So focus on skilling and focus on being more valuable to the market. Then the jobs will find you. So the last question I'll take from Ria Makani. How do I enroll in IPN chapters? So Ria, there are IPN chapters in 5 cities in Mumbai, in 5 cities in India. It's in Mumbai, in Pune, Hyderabad, Rajkot, Surat. IPN is a portfolio under Economic Affairs Committee. So you can go to your local EAC convener and you can ask them about IPN. Also, there are a lot of events which keep happening and they get announced in Jamaat Khana and on WhatsApp. So watch out for those messages and you will get uh, you'll be able to access those events and you'll be able to go for the course. Simran, last question, the name of the speed reading course. So there are many courses, so I will, all of them are equally good. So it's not right to really recommend any one course. I had done a course from a person called Rupak Shah, which was useful to me, but that's not the only course. There are ample of speed reading courses out there. So maybe if you send us a mail, we can share the details with you. So that's it. I think thank you very much for your time, and please share your feedback with us, how you like the webinar. All right. So Saif, shall we wind up?
Yes, sir, definitely. Thank you so much for
All
joining us
right.
today. I'm sure it was a brilliant, brilliant webinar. Um, Thank you so much for answering our questions. And I think it was very clear, very concise, very to the point, and I think we enjoyed our time very much. It was a very, very productive Saturday evening for us. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
And
you, Saif, and thank you everybody on the call. Thank you for giving me your time.
I will
Okay.
share the email ID now. You are welcome to note it down or share with us any further questions that you might have, and we'll get back to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.